record on this computer, go live. All right, let me change my mic. All right, I think we are live. I never know in the first 5 seconds if we're actually live, but hey everyone. Content writers, copywriters, marketers, whoever just so happened to stumble upon these two beautiful gentlemen that you see in front of you. So welcome to, I still don't have a name for this show, but obviously this is Killer Copy Critiques. Every Wednesday we do a live session with a copywriter. And what we try to do is get the insight, the approach, the context, all of the stuff that happens behind the scenes. We want to get that perspective to help you guys write better copy, get better conversions, feel better about your career and life, all that good stuff. So, so today, really excited to talk to my friend Alex. Alex, how's it going, man?
Yeah, not too bad. Obviously, there's a slight caveat to that statement, as there is for everybody on planet Earth right now. But otherwise, pretty good. Yeah, pretty good.
Yeah. So we're all relatively good. We're surviving, hopefully healthy. So Alex and I met in Bali. Actually, this is another a good opportunity to show off how international we are. But yeah, Alex and I met in Bali probably a year ago. And I think we probably had run in the same, we definitely run in the same circles before that, just on Facebook. And I think we knew a couple.
Yeah, I walked into my gym one day. We were in Victory Gym, which is like this spit and sawdust, $20 a month kind of weights pit. And I was like, I recognize that good looking guy. Who's that? And are you Tyler? And yeah, it was Tyler. So it was funny. I don't know too many copywriters in Bali. I know a ton of marketers. So yeah, it was cool just to see another copywriter out there.
I miss that gym so much, man. No AC, $20 a month, just stinky equipment that didn't work. And it was just amazing, man.
So much focus for the best place for focus I've ever been.
Oh my God, man. I just miss getting on my little
crazy Russian guys as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Remember the dudes with the tats on their head. Anyways, so Alex and I met in Bali. He lives kind of the digital nomad lifestyle as well, but right now he's grounded in the UK. And like he said, man, we were in this world of marketers. There was a ton of marketers out there, but we connected as copywriters. And it's always anyone that's out there that when you meet another copywriter in real life, it's a whole thing. It's an interesting experience. So excited to finally catch up with Alex. So Alex, can you, I guess, tell people what is it within this copy content world? What is it that you do? What is it that you specialize? Give us the 2-3 minute elevator pitch.
Sure thing. I write sales copy for SaaS brands, specifically B2B SaaS brands. So I went into sales 10 years ago. I started off doing international advertising sales. I never saw myself in sales at all. I was an international relations grad, but I think I love doing international sales, selling to different countries, particularly in Asia and Africa, and looking at how culture really influences the way that people buy and process information. And that got me really hooked on the psychology of things. I then went into software sales, enterprise software sales, did that for 6 years and ended up as head of international sales for a SaaS company. Got to be honest, I'd like to say it was love of copy, but it was just wanting to travel. I was like, damn, I like writing, I do selling. How do I put these things together? I actually didn't even know what copywriting was 3 years ago. I just figured someone has got to write those words on those websites, and I kind of know about SaaS. And then I found out copywriting's a thing. Then I also found out you can get paid quite a lot of money if you get good. So I was like, okay, sweet, that's me. And I actually quit my job when I was in Australia and started work on a building site. Went from senior sales down to junior marketing, built back up and moved to Bali a year later. And since then, I've worked with brands like Adobe, Salesforce, initially doing content marketing, some more blogging and SEO. And in the last year, I've moved into conversion copywriting. I mean, I think if you've got a funnel, a lot of people start at the top of the funnel with stuff like blogging, and you kind of have to earn your stripes a bit to get the, I guess, the privilege of writing somebody's website copy. You need to get a bit of experience behind you. So yeah, I mainly do landing pages and website content for B2B SaaS brands now.
That's awesome. So I Well, this can be like a whole nother conversation, to be honest, but really quickly, I'm curious, how did you, because you mentioned some of the brands that you've worked for, and it kind of sounds like a pretty quick rise, if you will. How, if you could kind of give people a little bit of like insight, how would you say, what was the biggest difference maker for you as you kind of made that rise to the top rather than kind of like scrounging with like little crappy, clients here and there? What's like the main difference you think that took you there?
Honestly, I started off in Sydney first of all, and just putting myself out there. I just went to a entrepreneurs meetup, and I remember the first time I put out my hand, and instead of saying I work in sales, saying I'm a sales copywriter. And it
Mm,
was that whole imposter syndrome that I think everybody has. And my thing is always you just got to punch it in the throat. Like you have imposter syndrome. I do. I bet you do. I bet everybody does. It pops in and you just have to smack it in the face. And so I just went straight out to these entrepreneurs meetups. And actually the second or third hand I shook. I didn't realize it was a guy called Freddie, French guy, who's a awesome marketer. He's a CEO of a conversion rate optimization agency in Sydney. And they got me some of my early big clients like the Salesforce work. So it was very much just like, I'm here, there's my goal, bam, let's just go for it. Let's shake people's hands. And what I find is that anybody in entrepreneurship, anybody who's built a business, they just love that. Even if you don't have to be perfect, you don't have to be great. If you just say, this is who I am, honestly, and like, I'd love to work with you. They love that. They love giving people a break. And I think that was it. It was just, I didn't mess around. I didn't skirt around the edges. I went straight for some of the big agencies in Sydney and just pitched them and said, hire me. I didn't pretend to be amazing. I just said, this is who I am. I'm a bit rough around the edges, but I'm keen to learn. And that pitch went down pretty well. So no one needs you to be perfect. Don't do that.
yeah, that's the thing. I mean, that's so cool. I think that's a really cool story for anyone to hear as well, because it's, potential hirers, they can sniff out when you're being genuine and when you're just really like actually ready to work and not trying to bullshit and not trying to like skirt around what you actually want. And it's really that straightforwardness, like especially in marketing where everything is not straightforward, where everyone tries
Yeah.
to be all fucking weird and stuff. It can be a
Yeah.
breath of fresh air for sure.
Yeah, and it's like you're gonna get one of the most important things. My first ever decent break I got was with a big tech company called Pearson,
Mm.
and I got told afterwards I had the worst academic credentials of anybody that interviewed for the job. They were looking through my school list and like, you've been to lots of schools. Why is that? And I was like, well, they kept expelling me. And at the end, apparently, the manager was just went to the head of sales and was like, I want that guy. And he said it was because I was the only guy in the entire process that hadn't bullshitted him. I've been like, yeah, I made a bunch of mistakes. I'm an idiot. Here I am. And somebody hiring wants somebody who they can criticize. If you say, hey, this thing messed up, what happened? And you say, damn, that was me. This is what I did, and that's why I did it. Can we talk about it? And the worst thing, no matter how clever somebody is, if somebody is unwilling to accept criticism, they're just useless.
Right.
That's the most important thing, showing somebody, I've got all of these flaws, this is what they are, but I can do these things really well for you. That's a good pitch, I think.
And the opportunity is endless. Like if you can, like you said before, you said who you were, you said what you do, and then you just showed up. And that's really all there is to it. It's going to be
Yeah.
interesting now. It's going to be interesting now what type of networking gets done because, obviously we're doing what we can and what we have to with all this, Zoom conferences, virtual conferences and things like that. But it's weird because it's just not, obviously it's not the same. It doesn't have that same feel or connection. So it's going to be interesting because some people are good at it and like can do that and like showing up on a screen all the time. And I mean, I do it every week, but I don't do it like I'm just like talking with friends and stuff. So it's weird.
It's a generation thing, I think. I mean, Tyler, this is a personal question, but how old are you?
Just turned 30, dirty 30.
Okay. I'm old. I'm 34. So when
Okay.
I look at people in their 20s, the funny thing is I'm comfortable presenting on stage.
Yeah.
I'm a lot less comfortable in front of a camera. Younger people to me seem the other way around. Like I like talking to people because you can get like rapport. You can kind of see their body language. The camera to me is more scary. Whereas a lot of young people, they're used to cameras and they prefer that. So I'm kind of envious of that. I'm still getting more confident with cameras.
Yeah, I guess that's interesting. I guess with that younger generation, I mean, I'm definitely proud to be like the last generation where I still know what like a phone book is and things like that. So it's definitely a nice mix. But all right, so let's jump into some copy. So that's why we're all here. Everyone's watching like, what the hell are you guys talking about? But we are going to look at some copy that Alex just actually wrapped up, like what, this week, right? And this was, when we were talking about it, I don't think we've looked at copy quite like this because I'm gonna let Alex go into it. But this is a case that I think a lot of us as copywriters and marketers kind of run into when we have, because we like to preach and we like to do things simply as copywriters. We're like, yeah, just one idea, one audience, target, go into that one idea, and that's like this, that's like the fairy tale dream for all of our clients. But realistically, a lot of clients are very, very complicated and they got a whole bunch of shit going on. And then it's our job to kind of translate that mess into something palatable. So this is kind of an example of that. And I'm going to pull it up. So Alex, can you just give us like some context of what we're about to look at and how you kind of started to approach it?
Sure, yeah. So this is a company called A Now, short for Appraisers Now. They're based in Canada and they're one of North America's top real estate SaaS brands. And it's a combination of products, or it's a platform that does a number of things. It helps you to get more appraisals, to organize your team, to enable them to work in the field. We can look at some of the features. The key thing is that this product is targeting, as we can see here, 5 different audience personas or audience segments, we could say. They already are a market leader with residential appraisers, but say commercial appraisers can absolutely use this platform. They're just not that aware of it yet. So we've got people with different levels of solution awareness, different levels of awareness about the A-Now brand. And we want to reach out to all of them and make each of these 5 segments feel there's a personal message in there for them.
Right.
So another issue as well is A-Now's platform has a standard package, and we have A-Now Accelerate, which is roughly 7 times the price. So a lot of the smaller companies can't afford A-Now Accelerate. So it's about putting together a value proposition that makes it clear A-Now is a fantastic product. A-Now Accelerate gives you some amazing features for bigger companies to help them scale without making somebody who can't afford A-Now Accelerate feel like they're missing out. So it's getting that value proposition that speaks to both those groups of people. We then complicate things further by throwing in 4 to 5 extra paid add-ons that you can add on top of A-Now. So, this is not entirely uncommon. It's a common issue in B2B SaaS is dealing with multiple audience segments.
Yeah.
On one hand, yeah, you can just have, Tyler.com/ecom, Tyler.com/SaaS.
Yeah.
If that was your domain, you can create industry pages, but it's a bit more complicated than that because you need a homepage. A homepage has to, as we all know, as copywriters, you have to grab someone's attention in seconds. It's all well and good having those separate pages tucked away for different audience segments, but you need them to land there. Now, some of them will find those separate persona pages via a search engine, but we need to design the homepage in a way that speaks to everybody. So at the very top, we have a header.
All right, let me tell people what we're looking at first. So this is really as you can see, this obviously isn't a final product, but this is basically an outline, I guess, an outline of how the copy will live on the website. And this is something actually that I do a little bit more bare bones, but providing basically like a UX outline to give to the client, so that they actually know how to place your copy on their website. And Alex, what would you say is like, has this made like a big difference since you started doing this? Or I don't know how long you have been doing this as part of like your project process, but like, why do you do this?
I guess I work quite heavily with UX and UI. So I do a little bit of design on the side. And I feel like if you're doing SaaS copywriting, you really have to collaborate with designers. I mean, designing your own and building your own website as a copywriter is a great way to get a little bit of awareness about what it takes to build a website, learning to do typography, learning to do design, and just having a structured layout like this, I think makes it easier for a designer. I still get back and forth. They'll come back and say, hey, this header needs trimming, for example, but designing it in this sort of style as well, and having allocated space for H2s and H3s or different types of headings, it makes it easier to get a feel for how it will fit on a website as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, conversions are well and good, but it needs to look pretty as well.
Yeah, and I think as the service provider, this adding on to this as a deliverable just sets you apart too, and it kind of makes you just, I mean, it's a very professional thing to add on to the actual, just rather than just delivering a Google Doc. This kind of brings the whole experience together. So as Alex kind of you know, drew out like the scope of this thing. So he's got 5 different. We're going to go into the kind of how the flow of this page works, but we have 5 different audiences, right? 5 distinct different audiences. So you said there's one big package and then like 7 add-ons. Was that correct?
There's one main package. There's one add-on, but we've divided the huge range of features in that add-on into 4 buckets: financial, quality, teams, and branding.
Okay.
Because financial will probably appeal to somebody who works in finance or accounting. Quality is basically appraisal reviews, somebody who's in charge of appraisal reviews. So both from a conversion and an SEO point of view, that can be beneficial.
Gotcha. Okay. And so like he said at the beginning, like obviously just because this has a lot of different audiences, just because there's a lot of different packages, his job doesn't change, right? He's the copywriter. So he has to make sure that he's catching that attention at the beginning, that it's doing what it has to do for for the traffic, and that they can go where they have to go, right? It's not enough to just throw this stuff on the page. It's about kind of the site structure as well, and where you want to lead everyone to go. So I guess kind of, do you think it's easier to walk through on this, or do you want to look at the actual website to kind of see how it lives on the side? It's up to you.
I think we've done a quick overview of this. Let's take a look at the website. This is a staging website. The real website should launch today, later today.
All right. Awesome. So here we go as far as so you can kind of see you can see what the outline kind of transforms into. And another thing, these outlines like this, they're so good because not only can you see like where everything is going to go, but it just lets you like, I don't even know. It just gives it this, I think I'm still like focused on the delivery, but it feels so much better. And it's so much more of like an approachable, like he gave me something, like this is like a whole package rather than just a freaking link that he sent me. So anyways, let's actually talk about the copy. So knowing all this, knowing that we have 5 audiences, knowing that there are so many different complicated types of ways that a specific reader could or might need this service or get started with you guys, depending on who they are. How did you take all of that and build this hero section? Like, how did you come to, like, what are we saying here that serves us for the rest of the website as far as the headline, subheadline, and this kind of whole first experience?
Yeah, sure. Great question. And I think to answer that, my process, I could say I design websites upside down. I think though, if you draw a pyramid, to me, it makes a lot more sense. So if I'm building a house, my concrete is my audience personas. They're not even part of the website. If a website is layers, say the audience personas of a concrete, to foundations. If you build a house and you don't get the foundations right, the entire thing falls down. So audience personas, and I develop those, first of all, by talking to my to my client, but most importantly, chewing through customer testimonials. So the first thing I do, most important thing in the entire process for me, is sitting down and chewing through as many reviews, online reviews, customer testimonials, good and bad, as I can. A lot of people talk about things like getting the brand voice right. I don't really think about that too much. I think it happens subconsciously. I kind of view copywriting a bit like acting, a bit like method acting, and I want to become my end user. So I'm reading through all of these testimonials, thinking about the language and the phrases they use, and I almost want to become that character. So I know what it feels like to be an appraiser, so to speak. So I start with that. That's just the foundation. And the next thing is going through all of the technical documentation and features. So I always start my website, I build the product pages first, because building out the product pages enables me to really get a firm handle on all of the features. So it's then taking those features, taking the audience pain points, and that sequence again and again. I mean, there must be 50, 60, 70 product features here. In every single case, their technical documentation says the feature does this. I have to turn it into save time by doing this, save money by doing this. So we've gone from the audience personas through to the product and feature sections. Then I do the audience sections next up, because by the time I do the audience sections, I already understand the interaction between the features and the pain points. Then finally, the homepage is always the last thing I do. So by the time I do the homepage, it's like if you're like, I don't know, playing Street Fighter, by the time you get to the big boss, you've warmed up and you've got, you've done all of the other bosses. So you're ready to, your fingers are moving quickly. I know the product really well by the time I do the homepage. Homepage first is crazy. It makes no sense. I do the homepage when I could be a sales guy for this company by now, because I know their product so well. I know their audience. The homepage then almost wrote itself. It came together really quickly. And then the header and the explainer is like the cherry on top of a Christmas tree. That is the last thing. I've already had to do headers and explainers for each of the different audience segments. So it's like a meditative thing. By the time I get to the top, it's just what is the most simple, elegant way of summarizing all of the technical stuff this product does. And for me, what stood out with A Now is it doesn't just help you earn more money as an appraiser. It doesn't just make your business more simple. It actually, I think the thing I like most about this product was hearing people say, I used to finish work late on a Friday and spend my whole weekend using my laptop. My family would get annoyed. Now I finish work early on a Friday and I check my mobile app once or twice a weekend, and that's it. I can go on holiday at the weekend. And so when I say build a better appraisal company, that's a really holistic thing. It's not just build a richer company. It's build a company that's nicer to work for. Better means so many different things. And then if you look at the explainer, it's taking all of the different features and just summarizing with really top level open benefits. Manage more orders, streamline every process, build a stronger team, and grow your appraisal business, with one simple app. So the biggest concern is there's complexity involved in doing this. Just those 4 words, with one simple app, completely disarms that and gives you this idea that you can have these amazing benefits and it's easy.
Damn. All right. So I don't know. Hopefully people are watching this live, but that was like, he just dropped a lot of knowledge just now. I think he just nonchalantly changed how people might write website copy. Cause I've been writing website copy for a while and I've never thought about it to do it that way, to write the products first and then go backwards, but it makes so much sense. Holy shit. You kind of
just... It might have worked for other people, but it's just something works for me. I don't know. Try it out, I guess.
It makes so much sense. Like you said, once you have this understanding of all the products, and then what you said about kind of method acting, you become an appraiser, right? And then you're thinking of it from that side rather than just thinking of brand voice, which sounds and has the context of a company telling an audience what they are, which no one, they don't care that much about what they think about themselves. So
honestly, when a company tells me a brand voice, I wouldn't say I screw it up and throw it in the bin, but I'm yeah, whatever. I'll take a look at it, but I care about your customers more than I care about you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I love my clients, but I almost care about their customers even more than my client. Does that make sense?
For sure. And especially, 85% of the time when you ask a company, what's your brand voice? You're like, oh, we're reliable, we're simple, we're easy to use, we're intuitive. It's okay, that tells me literally nothing about what I can write.
Big companies, smaller companies are often, the thing that's great about A Now is their CEO, Marty, just talks to their customers constantly, and that comes across. But when you talk to really big companies, and you say to the VP of marketing, hey, when was the last time you got a beer with a customer? And they're like, what?
Yeah.
There's your problem. That's why your marketing isn't working. To be clear, I'm not talking about A&L. They're amazing. Some really big companies I've worked with, they
Yeah.
just stop hanging out with their customers. Of course it falls apart.
Yeah. Or they delegate that to some low level person, like, oh, I don't know, but he might have talked to somebody a couple months ago. And then that's the problem. Like you said, it has to be this whole thing. And so that's really, I mean, that's definitely, I mean, I'm sure for you too, having worked with SaaS companies, I'm sure this client was kind of, even though it's complicated in a lot of things, I'm sure that was just a breath of fresh air to work with the CEO that actually gets it.
100%. And this was a challenging project, but a really cool team. And every day of the week, I'd rather take a really hard project and a really cool team than an easy project and a difficult team. We had various obstacles along the way. One neat thing, one thing that we did that I quite liked was we realized when we put together our pages for individual customers, they were coming out at, like, instead of 500 words, 1,500 words. So it's like, that's cool for like ranking in some ways, but no one's going to read that. So we worked out together as a team, let's use accordions. Have you used accordions before?
No.
They like fold the text away. So you can have like, hey, here's our product feature, and like a single line pitching it quickly.
Yeah.
And then if you press the box, the whole thing expands and it hides away again. So that was like one little moment we had as a team that was really cool. It was great working with their designers, with their marketing exec. It was a really good sort of team process. Yeah.
I love it. And so I think you captured, your explanation for this makes so much sense with a complicated, because someone not aware of what this is, they might look at this and saying, like, build a better appraisal company, because it's not obviously very specific about one thing that you do, but it's because you have to encapsulate so many things. And it's not just, like you said, it's not just about money. It's not just about, it's not even just about productivity. It's about everything. It's about like a health, like a just have a better company. And I think that's kind of why we do this, because the context matters so much, because you were in, the products, how all the back end works. So, and I think that's important to, especially right away, depending on where people land from, how much they know about this company. It's important to, and I think what it does, it sums it up, but then it immediately specifies, like, and I think that's the perfect combination of what a headline and subheadline is supposed to do. Give an idea, and even if it might not tell you exactly, it gives you the kind of the I don't know, the meat of it, and then it immediately kind of tells you specifically what we're going to do here. So
yeah, I think you grab their attention of a header. Headers there to just grab their attention instantly.
Yeah.
And then you have to back it up with the explainer, I think.
Yeah. All right. So as we scroll down, what are we transitioning into? So we got some social proof here, and I like these logos. I think sometimes I don't love when logos are like really like sad and boring and like kind of like dull and gray. Like these really pop out, and it's like it's a noticeable thing. So minor point, but so what are we talking about here? Because I think we're going to transition into all of these different audiences that we're going to be targeting. So how do you kind of frame that?
Yeah. So again, often to me, the head of its most simple is usually the best, I think. So A&L is built for your appraisal company. It's just very simple. It's almost childlike, to be honest. But I mean, that's my thing. If I can make a complicated SaaS product easy for a 5-year-old to understand, I've done my job.
Yeah.
So A&L is built for your appraisal company. So the challenge, the problem we have here is this perception by some of our audience segments that A&L is for residential appraisers, where it's also for commercial appraisers, it's also for AMCs too. How do you get that across in a headline? Answer: you can't. But what you do is say A&L is built for your appraisal company, and then back it up underneath. So we then got the explainer gives more top level benefits that should appeal. They should be agnostic. Those top level benefits: automate tedious tasks, collaborate in the field. Those should appeal to all of these 5 segments. But then if we scroll down slightly more, we've got just one box for each of these audience segments, and just 1 to 2 lines. I mean, 1 to 2 sentences. And again, the goal for any of this, all we have to do is encourage them to click that box. So we don't need to, if we'd written a lot more text there, it would have been detrimental.
Mm-hmm.
All you need is enough text in this box to pique their interest, to excite them enough to think, hey, I'll give that box a click. And as soon as they do that, that box has done its job there. So again, focusing on what are the features that will be most appealing to appraisal admins. They have to deal with a whole bunch of different disparate systems. So manage every order from one beautiful, powerful dashboard. For someone who spends a whole day dealing with lots of different systems and getting annoyed at that, that should be appealing enough that they'll think, okay, I'll click that box and I'll see, if these guys have anything for me.
Yeah, I love it. And I think it's a good idea here. And I think that maybe like the approach that you took as far as, making it not generic enough, but broad enough in this area that it covers all 5 of the audiences. I think that's something that you can do also. Like if someone's watching this and you might have like a piece of website copy and you just need to talk about the features. That's another way that you can do it. It's just like, what are the things that you can connect to all these features? And then that kind of sets it up for you to go into the details for each of the specifics. And then, especially in a case like this, you're not trying to sell the whole thing on the homepage. You're just trying to get them a little bit interested and let them know that this is them, right? We're trying to say, this is you, this is you, this is you, this is you. So like immediately kind of letting people know this is where you might fit in. So it's really like you said, just, if you can make it more childlike, if you can make it like almost, this whole site, honestly, it kind of feels like it's like a fun, like a kid's thing. And it's like, but it's actually like the most this super technical, huge company. But it has that feeling of it's approachable, right? Whereas if it was more as technical as it actually is on the back end, we would land on this website and be like, yo, I don't know what to do. But it has that approachable feel, and it kind of, it matches and it syncs up with the copy. So, yeah.
And I think you sort of inferenced something else I wanted to say, which was you've got to have the goals you have macro goals. The overall macro goal obviously is to get more sales and get more leads, but you need micro goals. So as you said, we're not trying to sell the product just here. What is the goal of this box? The goal of this box is simply to get a click. So just have that in mind. Every single section of the website, you need to have a clear goal for, there needs to be a reason for it to exist. Every single section of this website, I can say it exists to do this particular thing. And on the home page, that's not actually selling at all. We do the selling lower down, right at the bottom here, or on the audience persona pages more.
Yep. Like if this website is like the house, you've got them in the house. Now these are like the specific rooms to get into. So it's like just showing people where to go, but you're not selling them yet. So at this point, ideally, like you said, you want them to click. But if they haven't clicked and they're still like kind of still browsing around, then you basically have more, a little bit more persuading to do. And so you do that here with one of the best strategies, the best ways to do that. So show some numbers. So just back up what you're saying with some numbers. Simple as that, right?
Love it. Yeah, love quantitative social proof. And so do business owners.
And people like being called ambitious. That is, I think an underrated kind of idea within copywriting is just make your reader tell them things that make them feel good. Like yes, it's important to talk about the problems that you're solving, but it's also to acknowledge the person reading this as a professional, someone that does their job, someone that's on it, and someone that's ambitious. So that does a lot just to condition them to be like, oh, I like these guys.
Yeah, everyone loves to be complimented, to be known that they think of you highly, they respect you. The absolute foundation of sales copywriting to me is respect for your audience at every single point. That respect in the sense that you've given here, that I respect them as a potential customer, but also just as a reader. So when you're writing headers, respecting my customer doesn't have much time. The entire way, I know I have to earn your right to speak to you. I have to earn your right to get you to click this button the entire way.
And it's not blowing smoke by saying like game-changing dynamic appraisers or like things like that, because I think that's also like, it's a lot of copywriters and do that because it's just like we're trying to figure out a way to just make them seem like the best of the best. But that's not really the point. You're not trying to, say that you're the gold standard. It's just to say like, look, I see you doing your thing and we're doing our thing and we're a good match. Right. So it's not, you don't have to like BS the reader into some other shit. Cause also like they can tell, like when you see someone giving you a bloated compliment, it's just like, come on, dude, like just shut up. Like,
there's also as well, there's that concept in psychology of people having parent, adult, child, and a lot of people in unhealthy relationships switch between adult to child and child to adult. In a healthy relationship, parent to child and child to parent. And a healthy relationship is where two people are speaking adult to adult. And so I think as a copywriter, you want to be adult to adult. You definitely don't want to be child to parent. Please buy my product. Please, I'm desperate. And you don't want to be, as you suggested, sort of patronizing either as well. It's just, hey, I'm a smart guy. You're a smart guy. I respect your time. Let's have a quick conversation about some way in which I can help you.
I love it. Yeah.
Like I respect me. That's as important as I respect you as well.
Yeah.
So seriously as well.
Yeah. And then because then sales copy becomes you're not pitching, you're not like trying to push people. It's just like, hey, like you have like, this is what it is. This is a good opportunity. If you want to take it, let's talk. And that's really all it has to be. If you know your audience and you've done the research to understand how they think and the language that they use. And that's really all it is. It's just like a meeting of the minds. So
yeah, if you do the groundwork, if you match up the features and benefits to their pain points, then your selling at the top level doesn't have to be that aggressive. You kind of know, I hate falling back on dating analogies, but to me, it's a bit like if as a guy, like you've put all the time in at the gym, you've worked at your career, you've done all of the hard stuff to be a guy, then you can just be yourself when you're dating. All of those horrible, dodgy, aggressive dating tactics that, we don't like, but aren't nice to women. That's stuff that guys do when they haven't got their shit together. Whereas like when you're dating, when you're like, hey, I'm just a decent adult and I like you and I like to spend time with you. It's all nice. It's all healthy.
Yeah. And that's like mastery versus tactics too. It's just like, if you got it, then you don't have to try and do all this crazy stuff. It's just like, you got it. So you got it. But
exactly. Be cool, be understated. Yeah.
Yeah. I love it. Let me see if anyone's got any comments. Like, cause I hope you guys are appreciating this.
I'm scared.
This is like some master level stuff that Alex has given us. So, all right, let me see. I never know how to actually find it. Well, there we are. All right. Daniel with the banana gif, of course. Thanks for that. All right.
He was a cool guy. We chat sometimes.
Yeah, he is. I'm trying to get him on the show, but he said he's too busy for me, so I gotta hit him up now after this.
Oh, bug him. He's definitely worth getting on. He's a cool guy.
Oh yeah. All right. So after we've done a little more social proof, then what are we doing? We're talking more about the benefits, right?
Yeah, that's right. So we've packed together 4 pages that summarize ANOW's benefits or features and benefits in 4 particular buckets, as we call them. So master your business, that's actually a title they gave it, but essentially that's finance. Mastering your business, then there's finance, saving time and making teamwork easy as well. So we've clustered together the various product features into their own pages here. So somebody, I don't know, if you're in accounting or if you're in C-suite, you're more likely to look at the financial analytics and customer reports and say, hey, that sounds cool. I'd like to get a better handle on my business's finances. Or if you're having issues managing your team across multiple offices, that box saying make teamwork easy, you're more likely to click on that. They've added this section here afterwards. I added one underneath that does a similar job. So there's 2 sections that are kind of similar.
Got it.
Yeah, essentially it's linking through to their how it works pages.
Okay.
Some more quotes here. I think these are Captera quotes.
And we got some, and I think this is, I think some people sometimes don't know whether or not it's okay to have a longer testimonial, one that's more dense and more detailed versus one that's kind of simple and like catchy. But I think this is, as you kind of put it, or as it was designed, it makes sense to have a more, like, I'm willing to sit and read a full testimonial that might take me a minute or two, because at this point, everything has already been presented in a way where it's simple. I understand it. It's pretty clear about what's going on. Now I just need to like actually hear real people tell me about it. And that's what it is. So I think the placement makes a lot of sense. And then just how these testimonials are built out. It makes a big difference too. It makes a huge difference where and how you place your testimonials, because not all testimonials are created equal, right? There's some where you have just like the face, name, and like a yeah, and then it's like, okay, that works sometimes. And then maybe it's just no name or no face, and then this whole kind of paragraph. Did you have like an input into which testimonials to use and things like that?
I didn't on this one actually, and I've suggested I think they might add a couple of paragraphs in. I agree with what you're saying. I think by this point of a website, we've earned the right. If they're here now, there's enough engagement that they're likely to be willing to read a longer testimonial. But equally, I think adding in just a space between to break it up into 2 or 3 paragraphs, that's what I've recommended they do, and I think they're going to do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. I think if you're using testimonials at the very top, they've got to be very punchy and quick, but you can use them further down once you've kind of earned that right, as it were, to have them read it for a bit longer. It's also helpful if they're relevant too, if you put them underneath a particular product.
Yeah.
So they want to read about the product first, think, okay, cool, that sounds good, but does it really work? And then the testimonial does that job of telling you that it does.
Yeah, and I think that's also a good strategy as far as sales pages where there is a person that is like the value is the person. If you're like a coach or something, I like putting like a short little, hey, I'm Tyler at the top maybe, or near the top. And then further down, after I've introduced the products, the features, and all that good stuff, then I can tell you like all the stuff that you need to know. So I think that works really well with testimonials, personal bios, honestly, probably like most things. Because if you mention it early and then mention it later, that's just kind of the idea. And it makes sense because once they're more invested, obviously they're going to be more willing to really dive in and read some stuff. So
definitely,
yeah. All right, and then so this is just more additional features.
Yeah, it's a little bit confusing actually. This is a section I wrote. They've got essentially the same thing above in their own wording, but this is my version of it.
Okay.
So yeah, essentially financial quality, teams, and branding. And again, a header that grabs their attention a little bit, and then an explainer that gives just a quick overview of these 4 particular buckets. So I tried to pitch each of these 4 clusters with just one line: manage and complete order reviews in a simple, flexible interface. So that captures order reviews are a real bitch, basically, and they can be really messy. So it sounds like a simple sentence: manage and complete order reviews in a simple, flexible interface. But for our end user who knows that managing order reviews is a complete bitch and a mess, reading that sentence is actually slightly controversial. It's challenging, it's provoking. So yeah, if you know your audience has a particular perception of how something is done, if you just say we're doing it a completely different way and flip it around, that's a good way of grabbing their attention just enough to click that button and say, really? Could that be true?
That's all you got to do. Take an accepted thought that your reader has and just flip it. And they're like, oh, what? Wait, what? And that's how you get curiosity. It's really, that
was a much more eloquent way of putting it. Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. So to you and me, to most readers, that sounds like quite a benign, inoffensive statement. Right. But as somebody who manages order reviews all day and knows how hard it is and how messy it is, that's quite an edgy statement, so to speak.
That's so fun. I just like imagine an appraisal reading this like, oh shit, did they just say that? We're looking at it like
I hope so. I'll be happy.
That's hilarious. All right. And then damn, just adding more. So if you had any hesitations or whether these people work with like legit companies, you really can't think that
integrations, man. It's back in my SaaS sales day. they asked me about the integration section. And the nice thing about B2B SaaS sales is I can refer back to my own experience selling enterprise software. And I've sat in more than one meeting where the lack of an integration sunk a six-figure deal. You know, okay, well, you don't integrate with this product. Well, that's the end of a conversation. I mean, things have changed nowadays. I think with the way that APIs are developed, integrations, I think, are sort of quicker to push out. You know, it would be any product in this space should integrate with both Microsoft 365 and G Suite. It's just unacceptable not to. These guys also integrate with Total and Mercury, which are two really important appraisal tools. So again, it's just one section that's like what a few centimeters high on a laptop screen, but just bam, removes an entire swathe of potential objections. So that's a lot of value in the sales process. It's a real roadblock we've just swept to one side.
And I really love this point of the homepage. I think this is kind of like a marking point of the page, because I think up to this point, we've kind of been talking about features and what it's gonna, like how it's gonna benefit your company, which obviously is what you start, what's like why we're here and what we want to talk about. But this, and as soon as we start thinking about integrations, now I think the reader's kind of thinking about tools. They're thinking about software. They're thinking about the actual widgets, if you will. Not obviously not, because it's all digital, but like the things, right? And so then it has a perfect transition, and that transitions perfectly into what we talk about here: equip your team with revolutionary tools. So how did that transition work? How does that transition work in your benefit as far as making sure the reader is kind of in the right mindset?
I think it's about variety. So if you hit people, I always it was my background. I did a lot of boxing when I was younger, and so that's what one of my approaches to copywriting is. You know, you've got to have variety. You watch UFC, you know, you keep throwing the same moves again and again, and people develop defenses. You have to constantly change. You know, a guy's got used to throwing jabs and crosses, suddenly throw an uppercut or, you know, a roundhouse. So for me, when I'm doing sections on a website, you want variety in there. If you just keep going at the same angle about saving time or getting a better handle on your finances, you can almost get a little bit of fatigue. So I try and keep the sections kind of fresh each time. So try a completely different angle out as well. And it means that if one of the angles we've gone for here, you know, one of the sections doesn't completely resonate with them, by changing tack in the next one and giving them another angle, to me, that's like throwing a left and a right. You know, it's like, okay, did I get you the left? Or maybe the right will get you instead.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think switching it up, and it's almost just, it's like accounting for differences, because obviously the people reading this are all going to kind of have their own situation going on. And it's kind of like the same thinking with like different types of closes. Like you might have an emotional close, you might have a logic close, you might have something else, but it's just to account for maybe this is going to hit you, maybe this is going to hit you, or maybe this one's going to make you act. So it's kind of just understanding that there has to be some wiggle room for the differences of your readers. So like you said, I think that's a good way to look at it, is just kind of hit them with something different and make sure that they're, because at this point, you're not like, you're still giving us new information. So as a reader, I still kind of have to be on my toes and be like, oh, now he's talking about tools. So, you know, you can't really, I mean, you can research and you can like test and things like that as far as what point is going to make your reader act. But at the same time, you kind of just have to account for the fact that something just might get them to click. Like maybe like for whatever reason, they were just talking about email yesterday with their wife or something. It's like, oh shit, like let me click this. So it's kind of just making sure that you're covering all your bases, but doing it in a way where it's like, what I really like about this website is that it gives every section, it gives you time to like process, and actually like I don't feel rushed with any of these sections, even though there's a lot going on throughout the whole page. Every section has white space, it has like breathing room, so I can just look at it, think for a second, and then you know, take whatever action or keep scrolling. So
I think a lot of that comes down to hierarchy. I mean, I think one of the most important things for any copywriter to understand is just appropriate use of headings. You know, your H1s, your H2s, and your H3s, and not just from a perspective of SEO, but from a perspective of usability as well.
Yeah.
So that you have these features they happen to be H3s. They're clustered under an H2. And in each case, you need an explainer as well to justify it. Getting your hierarchy, going back to that document we saw at the beginning of the GDoc, when you get that hierarchy correct and you have that in place, it makes it a lot easier for people to process and understand.
Absolutely.
And if you want to skip past a section, you can do that. One of the most important rules in copywriting, which I always try to remember, is you should be able to remove all of the paragraph copy from a website, right? And it should make sense. Like, paragraph copy here, in this case, Nexus is a form filler that lives in the cloud. Your standard 16-point text.
Right.
You should be able to remove all of that from a website and make perfect sense of it just from the headers alone, because people skim read. No one's ever going to read this whole page. People load up a page, they flip through really quickly, and is there anything relevant for me? No, I'm gone. And then your bounce rate goes up, which, as we all know, is really bad. So if you just always remember, you should be able to make perfect sense with the headers alone.
I think that's an amazing piece of learning for anyone. Just a good point for anything that you write. I don't know if I've heard. I feel like I should have heard that before, but I don't know if I've heard that before. But it's really good.
I think our pal Niels, who's a top CRO, conversion rate optimization specialist, he's a bit of a celebrity in Django. Niels has said that as well, I think.
The German meme lord from Canggu.
German meme lord himself, yeah. He mentioned I used to do the blur test myself. The blur test, you just squint and make it hard to see your website page. Does it still look good? And he dropped that into his presentation, and I was like, man, this guy lectures for Google, and he does a blur test too. So that was validation for me.
Yeah,
that's
man.
another one. Or just keep drinking when you're writing. If your copy still makes sense to you, then you're doing good.
I was wondering, like, why is this getting better and better? And it's like, oh, the cup's getting lower and lower. That makes sense.
Yeah, I'm out, man. Gin's 2 rooms away, so I'll have to wait for it.
Well, we're almost done, so you'll be fine. All right. So, damn, I love this. Has been an amazing. There's some really good takeaways. So, hopefully, you guys watching this are taking notes. Hopefully, I'll do some timestamps so you can find it. Because, yeah. Well, this is a hilarious picture, I must say. I can't even read this because I'm just so focused on how great this profile picture is.
She looks really personable. She looks really friendly, and she looks like a normal person. And so to me, I like that more in some ways than if it's someone wearing a suit. It's like, there's another human being just like me.
Yeah, because I was going to comment on these 3 clones. But, I'm sure, I guess this is just kind of the target audience, and it's what they probably look like.
That's fair, yeah.
But I just love the iPad selfie. That's that just makes me feel good. That's just hilarious.
Yeah. Yeah. It's cool.
and someone watching this, like, what's wrong with that? I'm like, yeah, well, that's why it's here, so you can make that connection. But I'm not the target audience, so that's why I can laugh at this. All right. And then at the end, then we have this, man, I love the design. This is so good. Like, the contrast on this website is amazing. The white, the black, and then the purple and the green. It's fucking great.
Yeah, shout out to Sarah, the designer. I think she did a really good job.
Shout out to Sarah. And that is the website. That is the homepage, at least. And I'm sure there's a ton more to go, but I think that would be like a whole nother hour of us talking copy, which we might do another day. But overall, I think this, damn, there were so many freaking takeaways for anyone that does website copy. And I think almost all of these, all of the things that Alex and I talked about, these apply to sales, like sales pages, landing pages, even long emails, even long ads. Honestly, I think that's one of the coolest parts I think I've found about kind of how to, when writing sales copy and just kind of, I guess, persuasive marketing in general. It's like all this stuff applies to everything if you're just paying attention. So, all right, let me stop this share.
Pay attention and respect your customer more than anything. Respect for your customer. If you really respect your client, you really respect your customer, you'll figure out all of the other stuff, I think. Yeah. If somebody goes into marketing and they don't care about people, their journey will be hard and painful, and it deserves to be. They deserve it.
I was going to ask you for a takeaway, but I think that was it. That was respect your
Just
customer.
fall in love with your customers and your clients. That's the biggest one of all. Again, just like dating, if you actually like somebody, you do all of the right stuff. You know, if you say, how do you date? Man, how do you date? You have to write like a book like this thick on all the different rules and customs. But then if you actually really like and respect somebody, you really like and respect yourself, you just do the right stuff. And so if you like and respect yourself, you like and respect your customers and your clients, and I think all of the other stuff just naturally falls into place. I like to think.
Absolutely. And if, yeah, and if, because if you respect if you respect yourself, your customers and your client, then that means you're going to do the groundwork. You're actually going to come prepared. And so then when it comes time to write these headlines, it's just like whatever, easy. I'm good. Done.
100%. Yeah, exactly
Beautiful.
that.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. All right. I think that's all. I think that's all we got, man. So I really appreciate you, man. This was like seriously really enlightening for hopefully people out there watching, but for me too. Like I said, I haven't heard some of this stuff, some of the stuff you talked about, like the foundation and the method acting. Like I haven't heard that anywhere. So you got to do more videos, man. You're good at this stuff.
And I'm glad you enjoyed it. It was an absolute pleasure. And it was really cool to catch up as well. So
It was. All right. Well, thanks, Alex. I really appreciate the time, man. Go get yourself another gin. Thanks everyone out there watching. As always, post stuff in the group. Alex, you can tag Alex. He's happy to give feedback. And clearly he knows his stuff. So we'll see you around. And yeah, happy writing, y'all. Peace.
awesome. Thanks, Tyler. Hope to see you fairly soon in some exotic country,
Somewhere not in the UK or America. Somewhere with freaking palm trees and beaches. Soon.
UK sucks. Don't bother visiting.
Yeah. All right. Peace, man.
Take care, man. See ya.